thank you. Now we can share this experience with everybody else, and we'll just everything I said previously. That'll be our little secret. But all right. So actually, what I've got going on today is I don't have a whole lot of slides. There's actually a series of like 3 or 4 or 5 videos, and but they cover a lot and help kind of lay all this together. Feel free in between. We'll just chat about them and bring up kind of what you're picturing out of it and stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. And let's get here. Bring this up. All right. This was going to be mostly on the weather, kind of the importance of it, obviously, and especially in the wintertime, backcountry, and anything that you're going to get up into any sort of slopes, those kinds of things.
Getting the weather forecast is a critical part of your pre-trip planning process from 2 perspectives. Number 1, we need to be aware of how the weather past, present, and future will impact the avalanche hazard. And number 2, how the weather will impact our travel plans. For this, we should consider our ability to assess the hazards, what the effects on visibility will be, as well as how to dress for conditions. The main weather variables we want to assess include precipitation amounts and type, whether that is snow or rain, wind speed and direction, and temperature or freezing levels. These factors will all influence avalanche hazard. To start with, try and discover the history of the snowpack leading up to your trip. To do this, research past bulletins and trip reports to create a mental picture of the snowpack. Note any significant weather or environmental factors that could affect snowpack layering. Lastly, note any avalanche occurrences pertinent to your area. Next, you want to get an overview of what is going to happen with the weather during your upcoming ski trip. You can find this with your general valley weather forecast or search out more sophisticated weather models such as Spot Weather, Windy, or check out your local avalanche bulletin. These products will give you a great general idea of those key variables mentioned above: precipitation amounts and type, wind speed and direction, and temperatures. Weather models are generated by very large computers using massive data sets and very complex algorithms. Models are not perfect, but they are amazing. The best way to use them is to compare a number of different model outputs for the same location and see the degree to which they agree or disagree. If the models are really agreeing, you can be pretty confident that this is what is coming in the weather ahead. These weather tools will help you understand the nuances of the weather related to your chosen destination. If you are able to find links to local weather stations in your area, these are great resources to find real-time data. Other options are local ski area weather plots, webcams, and websites such as ARFI or CalTopo overlays. While going through these resources, ask yourself, is there more precipitation or wind than what was forecasted? Did temperatures go higher, stay the same, or drop? Make note of changes or lack of, and ask yourself if the avalanche hazard, as predicted by the bulletin, is going to be different because of it. You may want to use a chart or notebook to help track this.
All right. So some very interesting stuff. A lot of stuff that maybe I don't even think about sometimes. And probably because I don't spend a whole lot of time in the backcountry in winter. I wish Ethan was here. I know he does. Has and done some amazing stuff. I mean, he's been, I don't know how many times he's been caught in these avalanches and stuff and so forth. But I think the guide, the person that was talking, Tony, I think she was out of the Whistler area. I know a lot of her maps and stuff that she was looking had Whistler, Blackcomb, and looked like British Columbia area. No, have you skied out in that area much, Tony? A couple times.
I have with my daughter and her friend. We've done. We went up by gondola, obviously, to the top of Whistler. and then back out there.
Uh-huh.
And the scenery and the whole experience, considering again because of the beauty of the nature, and the snow conditions were good. It was just memorable, very memorable, very beautiful.
Yeah.
Obviously, we also had to put the skin on the bottom of the skis when we went up here. So the whole experience was just fantastic. It's something I would recommend to anyone.
Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world, and I know the outdoor activities there, whether it's climbing in the summer or your canoeing, rafting areas, cross country ski, backcountry ski, and all the ski that you can do, and Nordic experiences there in the wintertime. It's just it's a great spot. But any other thoughts on that? Anybody else have anything that, weather conditions or other things that they like to take into consideration?
But may I ask a question? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Are we talking backcountry skiing or cross-country skiing, or both, obviously, or seems to me?
We're actually, Tony, we're talking about both, because really backcountry skiing is a version of cross-country skiing, and we talked about last week we talked about the sort of the differences between light touring skiing, skate skiing, backcountry skiing, split boarding, and all that good stuff. Just kind of talked a little bit about it. Talked a little bit about how to size those skis, how those skis work as far as the kick and glide sections of the skis. And we did talk about skins and waxless patterns and things like that, and sort of the different types of bindings and boot setups and stuff like that. So yeah, we're kind of talking about all that sort of stuff, and even rolling it over into snowshoeing. How it kind of relates and everything too. So it all, everything's open. So, yeah, Travis, you were saying something as well.
I was going to say it's kind of an amazing thing. Weather is probably my biggest. I love weather. It's amazing to me. But I love the fact that you have to take into consideration the terrain, because the terrain plays such a huge role in weather. Depending on what side of the mountain you are on, what slope the mountain is coming down on, it changes where the weather hits. I think I made reference to this at some other point, but Apton and a couple of our friends were down at Rhodes End in Kings Canyon, and we just watched a weather pattern just dumping rain in a circle because it got stuck in the actual valley and just got stuck, and it would stop raining, start raining, stop raining, start raining, and it was just such a amazing weather pattern that happens. So knowing what terrain you're in to understand what's going to happen, because you don't know what the weather says is pushing this way. I don't know. Weather is awesome to me.
No, it's a really good point. And you look at this slide of the opening scene of this video, and you see this. Well, obviously they've got a lot of snow, and you look at that slope angle and stuff like that, and that could be stable, or it could be very unstable too, depending on previous storms. And I think of most of the places where I cross country ski and have cross country skied are pretty. They're not really so much like this. They're going to be very flat, not anything very steep above you. So I basically zero avalanche risk, because you're almost skiing almost on the top of a ridge somewhere where it's flat. There's nothing that's going to come down on you. Your biggest probably hazard is the wind blowing a big chunk of snow out of the tree that you're skiing under. And so, those kinds of things. And so, but the backcountry skiing and snow camping and all that good stuff has always been very intriguing to me. And so, but I don't have very much experience in it. And but it's one of these days, I'd love to get out and do some snow camping and do some backcountry and even split boarding like that too. Yeah, it's kind of it's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's get into another one unless anybody has something. Let's get back in this a little bit. Okay, let me try this again. All right, got out of order here.
That's okay.
David, try cleaning off your lens.
What that?
Try cleaning off your lens.
Oh, okay. All right. I already did that. Okay, come on.
So you have done lots of cross country and backcountry skiing, Dave? Have you done lots of
Cross country skiing, just sort of
that?
light touring. Yeah, light touring. But not much overnight or backcountry camping and that sort of thing. Whoops, let me get here. There. I thought this is just a good short little video, but it's it would come into play and it could tie into some other things as well. And I thought this was just sort of kind of interesting information here.
Hi, my name is Keith Nickel, and before we start today's video, what I'd like to do is give a shout out to Eau Claire Gloves and Mitts. They've been a long time sponsor, and what I really like about their gloves and mitts is that they fit nicely into the ski poles. The gloves work really well at temperatures like we typically have at our ski resorts, say just below freezing, -2, -3 degrees centigrade, or people in the US, 24, 25 degrees Fahrenheit, kind of in that range, up to 0 and warmer. These are great. But in a few days, we're going to get an Arctic outbreak of air, and temperatures are going to plummet. In fact, they're forecast with wind chill to be down around -20 degrees centigrade, which is kind of looking like about -4 Fahrenheit. So these are not going to keep me warm anymore, those kind of temperatures when I ski. So I'm going to be putting on these Eau Claire mitts. I find that they fit into the ski pole really nicely, but they also keep my hands warm. So if you're looking for a product that's going to keep your hands warm, have a look at Eau Claire gloves and mitts. Today what I'd like to talk about is how to make your ski boots last longer. Ski boots cost a lot of money these days. It's a big outlay of cash, and you want to get the most out of them, want them to last as long as possible. And a big part of that is making sure the zipper stays in good shape. Every year in our ski area, I see a box of throwing out discarded boots from our rental operation where the zippers have broken. And last year, on this boot right here, the zipper went on it right at the end of the season. I was just about to go for a lesson. The zipper went on it, and I had to go and use a pair of rental boots to complete the day up there on the mountain. And when I took this boot in to be repaired, the person at the shop said, we repair a lot of cross-country ski boots here. And a lot of people don't know this trick about how to keep the zipper lasting a long time. So let me share that with you. Often when people put on a pair of ski boots, they tug on the zipper kind of like this. They pull up. The person at the shop said, who repaired these boots, said, no, don't do that at all. Get underneath the zipper, pull it up in this fashion like this, and then push it down in this fashion like this. So get right underneath it, push up like this, and this is going to make your zipper last longer. This tugging upwards like this rips the teeth on the zipper, then they got to be repaired, or you throw them out and so forth. So no matter what kind of zipper you've got, always get right underneath it, pull it up like that, and then push it down like that. And your ski boots will last a whole lot longer. So try this tip when you're putting off your ski boots. Grab that zipper from below, and hopefully this will make your boots last longer. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share it with skiers you think might benefit. See you on the trail.
I just thought that was good information. And again, kind of going back to what we originally were talking about, how this information could roll over into other things, whether it's helping them maybe a zipper on your backpack, or maybe a zipper on your sleeping bag or tent last longer. I mean, I never thought about that. You just grab it and you're kind of gentle with it, but at the same time, if you grab it in a way that you're actually pulling the whole zipper and you're not pulling the teeth through at an angle, maybe that makes it last longer, or and add some life to it. And Travis, I know you've got an idea on that. what do you?
I feel like I get paid into this guy that talks too much.
Yeah. Well, the commentary.
I used to think of myself as the zipper expert because I fixed more zippers in my lifetime than I can count. But my usual statement about zippers is they're the bane of my existence. I would rather a product not have a zipper and have a strap or anything other than a zipper, because zippers are the first thing that breaks on tents, sleeping bags, backpacks, everything like that. But with zippers, if you make sure when you're buying product, buy it with a YKK zipper. Doesn't matter what size zipper, but a YKK are going to be the best zippers. These other like cheap knockoff zippers that you get on other things are usually crap and they bend really easy. But if your zipper doesn't say YKK on it, it's missing a lot of strength and a lot of durability.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. Yeah, right. All right. Any other thoughts? Anybody? Any or even experiences they want to share or throw out there? Well, all right. So let's go ahead then, and this is another really good one. Let's see here. Let me get into this so I can share.
Is that about winter camping?
Yeah, this is just a little bit more. Yeah.
If you're getting into winter backpacking or winter camping, well, there are some key mistakes that I see people make all the time, and I don't want them to happen to you. Not only can they be uncomfortable, they can kill. So stick around here, because here on Backpacking TV, we're breaking down all of the mistakes people make when winter camping and winter backpacking. Did you know that if your water filter freezes even one time, it is totally dead and useless, and you can't revive it or get it to be useful ever again? If you are using a hollow fiber filtration system, which is most of the filters on the backpacking market, Be-Free, LifeStraw, if it ever freezes, well, those fibers break and they cannot be repaired, and there's nothing you can do about it other than get a new filter. There are a few filters on the market that allow for freezing a few times, such as the MSR Guardian, the Rapid Pure, and the Grail. They are designed with a little bit of extra room and flexibility for allowing that water to freeze and thaw. However, most of them on the market, they're trash if they freeze even one time. It's one of the overlooked aspects of winter backpacking and winter camping. If you're counting on that water filter, well, you better keep it warm. That might mean you have to sleep with it in your sleeping bag or keep it in your jacket, because if it gets below freezing and those water crystals form and break those fibers in the water filter, well, that's the end of your water filter. Don't let it happen to you. Be proactive. Just don't let your water filter freeze.
A major mistake people make in the backcountry in the winter is underestimating the importance of layering or the types of fabric used. Simply put, don't use cotton. From your underwear and socks, use performance materials such as nylon and merino wool that wick moisture away from your body and dry quickly. Then add your layers: a light, long sleeve hoodie, a down or synthetic puffy jacket, and a hard shell. Do not hike or be active with too many layers to avoid sweating.
Being safe in the backcountry in the winter all starts with your layering system. First, that comes with not wearing the aforementioned cotton. Cotton will keep the moisture next to your skin, and it will be super slow to dry. It is heavy, it is cumbersome, it is just the least effective material that you should be using in the backcountry. You just shouldn't be using cotton at all. And the amount of times that I see people wearing hoodies, sweatpants, cotton socks, cotton underwear in the backcountry, I guess I don't see people using cotton underwear, but you know what I mean. Just don't use cotton whatsoever. Down jackets are just simply one of the most popular ways to keep you warm. They have the best warmth to weight ratio. This weighs practically nothing. I can compact it down to about the size of my fist, or maybe even less. And it's going to keep me warm in very cold temperatures. These are great when you are not doing a lot of aerobic activity because they are so warm. If you're actually hiking in your puffy jacket, there's a good chance that you're going to start sweating and you're going to start perspiring, and that moisture has a hard time going anywhere other than just staying in your clothes. I don't necessarily recommend that you hike in your down jacket, but they're amazing for when you stop hiking and you want to throw that layer on and be warm around camp. Now, when it's winter, it's all about moisture management. So when you're hiking, you don't want to be generating a lot of sweat, and you want to keep the elements, the rain, the snow, anything with moisture, really. You want to keep that outside of your layering system and off your body as you can imagine. Also, something that I really love is having a good pair of long johns. Now, again, I don't really recommend hiking in long johns. It's better to be a little bit chillier while you're hiking and moving so that you don't develop a lot of that sweat buildup that's going to come with wearing long johns on the trail if you're doing a very aerobic activity. If you're doing very mellow activity, then sure, go ahead, throw on those long johns just to keep you a little bit more comfortable throughout the day. Most people don't understand the role that nutrition has to play in winter backpacking. It is so critical to keep your body fueled. Now, that looks like eating regularly throughout the day, not letting yourself go for long periods of time before in between snacks or in between meals. Your body is just working really hard to keep yourself warm. And the other underrated thing is having snacks with fatty content. This looks like eating meats, salamis, peanut butter, nuts, things like that are just have a lot of good fat content to them that will keep you warmer than just a bunch of fruit with sugar, things like that. Another thing is that it's very important to eat food before you go to bed. Your body is asking for fuel to keep itself warm. It's much like adding on a bunch of logs into a wood burning stove before you go to bed for the night. You want to give it that fuel to keep burning for as many hours as possible to keep you warm. So eating some food right before you go to bed will really help as well to keep you warmer throughout the night. Another common mistake that people make is not understanding the importance of the sleeping mattress that's under you. It's not enough to just have a winter sleeping bag. While a winter sleeping bag by itself is amazing and are one of the best tools for having a good, comfortable night of sleep, it is not sufficient on its own. So I have here is a sleeping mattress. It's a 4-season winter sleeping mattress with a 6.7 R value. And if you don't know R value, it is the way that we measure insulation. So you might see it in ceiling insulation, R15 or something like that. The same goes for a sleeping mattress. How much insulation is between the ground, this snow that's obviously going to be very cold overnight, and you and your sleeping bag. And a common mistake that people make is that even though this is a 0-degree rated sleeping bag, it will not keep me warm at 0-degree temperatures, Fahrenheit by the way, if I have nothing under me or a really insufficient sleeping mattress under me. A lot of these rating systems, I believe, are rated for mattresses that are 5 or higher. So if you have an R3 sleeping mattress, you're probably gonna be pretty chilly out there. Now, there are some things that you can do. You can combine that with a foam mattress or just try to have something else underneath you. But make sure that you actually have proper insulation between the ground and you in your sleeping bag. Now, when it comes time to actual sleep, I do not recommend being in a puffy jacket. There is some debate in the backpacking community, but I think that it is better to be in a simple base layer, much like this, especially one that also has a little bit of an extra hood, and just allowing the sleeping bag itself to be able to do its job. I think not only is it more comfortable, I think it actually feels a little bit warmer. So I don't like to sleep with this. In fact, these do make great pillows though, and I like to have them in the sleeping bag in general, either here, up at my head, or down at my feet, taking up some additional foot space. Also, the benefit is that the down will retain that warmth for when it's time to actually put it on, whether you need to get up in the middle of the night to go out to pee, or it's just morning time and you want to get up and start your day, you have a warm down jacket rather than a cold one. Another mistake that I see people make is not understanding their draft collar and hood system. which is a very important part of the sleep equation for winter backpacking. You've probably seen me do this little thing before, this little song and dance before, but if you don't know, having your head, hopefully you can hear on my microphone, which is in with me in the sleeping bag. I apologize if the sound is total crap. Okay, so have the sleeping hood all the way around your head, and this is now around your face. There's a little tab here. Haha! Now, a mistake that I see people make is that they dive all the way under. And now they're breathing all of that moisture into the sleeping bag rather than out into the air. Your sleeping bag itself probably also has a draft collar. Now, if you can see, this extra bit of fabric that's right at my neck is the draft collar. This goes all the way around the sleeping bag, and that creates a cinch point or a collar that goes around your neck. And what that does is it keeps the air from escaping that your body is working hard to warm up. So if you do not properly cinch up the draft collar or don't know that you can have one that you can adjust, well, you're missing out on one of the key benefits of your winter sleeping bag. If you are just using a 3-season sleeping bag, you probably don't have a draft collar in your sleeping bag. But so this is for you who do have a winter sleeping bag. Make sure you know how to use it. Now, if you have too much room in your sleeping bag, let's say you are 5'6" and you have a 6-foot long sleeping bag, well, you have a lot of dead space in that sleeping bag. That dead space is going to be hard to keep warm. So your body's gonna have to work harder, and what's gonna happen in all likelihood is your feet are gonna be really cold. So that's where I will take extra stuff, maybe down jackets, and I'll just stuff it into my sleeping bag, put it down in my foot box, and take up all of that extra room. So there's not just a bunch of dead air in there that your body has to work hard to warm up. If you want some next level foot comfort, get yourself some down booties. I will actually sleep with these on, or at least have them in my sleeping bag ready to put on. And because they have this harder bottom, I can actually walk around in snow. One more really overlooked thing with what people sleep in is the wrong base layers. Now, this especially goes out to you ladies out there, but not exclusively so. People who wear really tight-fitting clothing, say yoga pants or form-fitting clothing, it's not actually that good to wear when you're winter camping. The form-fitting clothing does actually restrict your circulation just a little bit, just enough to make yourself feel colder. It's best to wear something loose-fitting, something that doesn't inhibit blood flow, and is just gonna be really comfortable to wear. The same goes for socks. Wear loose-fitting socks, not really tight socks. And of course, clean socks that you haven't hiked in are much better at keeping you warm than those sweaty things you hiked in all day. One of the overlooked difficulties of winter camping and backpacking is water management. It's obviously critical that you keep drinking while backpacking, but what happens if your water is in frozen form all the time? Whether it's snow, the creeks are all frozen, the lakes are frozen, how do you get water? Winter backpacking and winter camping are all about thinking through any possible problems that are going to be encountered in the next 3 hours of time and taking those on before they become a problem. Obviously, one of the things that I like to do is just have fresh drinking water. Now, Nalgene's are great. The water can still freeze in these. If you have a double-walled insulated water bottle, your water is much less likely to freeze, although it still can in extreme temperatures, but it will last a lot longer. What I like to do before I go to bed is boil some water, throw it into the bottom of my sleeping bag, and it will keep my feet warm all night long. And best thing is that I will have drinking water in the morning. So that is critical because there's nothing worse than waking up and having all of your drinking water be completely frozen and you don't have the ability to boil it or to get it drinkable. So another thing that I will also like to do is before I go to bed, I'll take my cook pot and I'll just make sure that I have at least a liter of water or so in my pot. That way, if and when this freezes, well, it's already ready to be heated up and be brought back to drinking water. So best case scenario, I go to bed with a full water bottle with boiling water in here, making sure that it's sealed up tight, keeping me warm in the sleeping bag. In the morning, I have drinking water, and then I have some water that's probably ice at that point, but it's ready to be turned back into water simply by lighting up my stove and getting it ready. Side note, if you do plan on melting snow as your drinking source, it is really important that you actually start with a little bit of water in your pot. Don't just start with pure snow, because it will take a really long time for that snow to turn into water if there's not some water to start with. It's a weird concept to think about. I don't know how to describe it really, other than just start with a little bit of drinking water in the bottom first. Don't just start with snow. Liquid fuel canisters are a must if you're going to be doing a lot of cold weather camping, because liquid fuel actually operates in cold temperatures. If you're using the isobutane like in a Jetboil, well, it's going to not work at all below about 15 degrees. Now, you can invert the bottle in order to get down to a little bit less of a temperature, but it's still not going to really work unless it's warmer out. So if you're going to be doing a lot of cold weather backpacking, I highly recommend a liquid fuel system. Well, that's it for me, my friends. Those are the key mistakes that I see people make all the time when it comes to winter backpacking and winter camping. I want you to have a great experience, and I hope that this video helped. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure that you like the video and subscribe here to Backpacking TV. Love to see this community grow. And yeah, I'm gonna go settle in for a nice chilly night of winter camping here. All right, everybody, I'm Eric Hansen. I'll see you later.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and I think that for me, the nice thing about it too is there's a lot of things you don't necessarily have to be winter camping. I mean, Tony, we've had some cold nights, that's gotten down below freezing. So, in September, so you don't have to be out there in a snowfield or something like that to actually keep those things in mind, whether it's that information about your water filter, or whether it's about your water bottle, or you need that extra warmth because all of a sudden you've got a cold front that came through and the temperature is going to drop an extra 10 degrees that night. So that you can just roll all that information over into different scenarios and stuff like that and come into play. Yeah.
Can I throw out two things?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, Travis.
What he said, all those things were phenomenal. I love winter backpacking. Winter backpacking is kind of my favorite thing. If I had to do anything, winter backpacking was what I would do. But when you boil water and you put it in your Nalgene, if you're using specifically Nalgene, do not fill your Nalgene to the top of the line. If you fill it to about 2/3 the way, or a little bit more than 2/3 the way, it's a much better experience, because the heat will keep expanding and might blow off the cap of your Nalgene, which sounds really crazy, but because the heat will change the thermodynamics of the plastic, the cap will pop off, then it'll leak in your sleeping bag. So therefore, just don't fill up your sleeping bag. You probably don't fill up your sleeping bag. Don't fill up your water bottle as much, because it will expand and potentially leak. The second thing is with the sleeping bag. If you put it in your sleeping bag and you put it at the bottom, put the lid down, because if for some reason it still freezes, it will freeze at the top, which is now the bottom of the water bottle. Therefore, the water that is drinkable is on the top of the water bottle when you flip it upside down. So you don't have frozen water. You have accessible to drinking water in the morning.
Interesting.
These are my weird thoughts.
No, that's good knowledge. I kind of prefer. No, that's good. I was curious about, because I'm trying to think if I have done this, but I've been kind of very careful about it, is actually taking boiling water and pouring it right into an Nalgene. I didn't, which I'm assuming you can do it, but I obviously don't burn yourself. But I was always curious on what it's actually doing to is it weakening it? Is there cracks or a possibility of that? and then the expansion, of that kind of stuff, so.
Nalgene is pretty, again, it's a science, it comes from scientists. That's where that comes from. They used it for doing science experiments. It wasn't designed as a water bottle when it was initially made, but that's when it had BPA and all that other fun stuff in it. But when they got rid of the BPA, it didn't make it as durable. It's still very durable. It's just not as durable when it had the BPA in it. But you can pour boiling water in it, but I will say just don't overfill that boiling water into it. But it will take 100% boiling water. I probably have taken it out of the house right now. Yeah, so I took insulate pads, like my sleeping pads, but a foam sleeping pad. And I actually built an insulator around my water bottle. I just put duct tape around it, and it gives me a second layer to keep my water bottle from freezing. And it works pretty well. They sell zippered ones with padding and so forth. The other component to that is sorry, this is me just talking about winter camping. I should have done a winter camping class, Dave. Maybe I'll do that one of these days.
Yeah, I'd love it.
But with winter camping, something else, when people get cold in the middle of the night, a lot of times they're holding their pee because it's cold outside. And when it's cold outside, there's not a chance you want to get out of your sleeping bag and go outside to go stand in the middle of the thing and drop your pants and pee because it's going to get colder. But in reality, you actually are warmer once you pee because your body is trying to bring up your pee to be 98.6 degrees. And that's a lot of energy to burn by warming up your pee, which isn't keeping you warmer. It's just making your pee warmer. So if you do in the middle of the night get up and pee, even if it's really cold, you will be warmer in your sleeping bag. The second thing is for those that are comfortable with the concept, having a pee bottle in your sleeping bag is a nice thing too, that you can just pee in your sleeping bag and not get out of it, and then you have a bottle of pee. But you need to make sure that you very clearly label your bottle of pee, because the next morning that's an awkward time.
You have to make sure not to spill it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that a pee bottle and/or getting up to go pee does keep you warmer when you're sleeping. When I used to go winter backpacking with young kids, you would actually take a strap, like a backpack strap or anything, and you close the bottom of their sleeping bag. So let's say my feet are here, my sleeping bag's hanging down here. If you put the strap around here and you suck this in, the person doesn't have to warm up as much as the sleeping bag. He was talking about filling the bottom of it.
Yeah.
That actually cinched it in with the strap to bring it in closer to the kid's feet and keep you warmer that way too.
That's a good idea. I mean, that's because we have customers all the time come into REI that they're buying a sleeping bag for a 10-year-old kid, and they don't want to have to buy another one in 2 years, and their kids are growing 4 inches a year. You can almost kind of make it to fit. Now, obviously, they still have to carry all that extra stuff that they're not really using. They're not going to be needing it for a few more years, but that's a really good point. The other good point that a lot of times we'll forget about too is making sure that you're eating right, and eating, and fueling your body for sleep. And that's just a good reminder too of the importance of that. But no, there's a lot of good stuff. He had a lot of good information in that one and that as well.
I have a question.
Yeah.
One last thing on the food. Oh, go. Sorry, Tony.
Oh, go ahead. You guys, either one.
Okay. That tip regarding the water filtering, not to let it get below freezing level, because it compromises the whole effectiveness of the filtration. I was not somehow thinking of that, maybe because I've not read the instructions of the use of the filtering, but it makes sense, and it's obviously a very, very important tip. But I have a question here for you guys. I'm sure you have some experience with that. There is that commercial there for the so-called survival SOL or whatever brand, Be with Sack. I remember years back, I bought an aluminum foil bag, and then at one time, for whatever reason, I actually tried to use it and did use it for maybe 10 or 20 minutes, or I don't know how long. And it's not breathable at all. So obviously you get sweating in there, you have moisture in there, and then when you get up, and if it is cold out there, this is just not what you want it to experience at all. Yet it what happens. Now with this, I would say more contemporary, maybe better technology-wise and material-wise developed materials. These BV sacks, are they better in respect to this breathability? Are they better in respect to this, old type of the aluminum sacks? Please give me some of your opinions or maybe knowledge on that.
I can talk on that. The majority of times, so yes, they used to do they still make them. You can buy them for $6 at REI. You can buy them all over. They work really well. It's the same thing they do for marathon runners when they're done running their marathon. They're just trying to keep their temperature regulated, and they'll wrap that around them and it keeps them warm. Or if you're in a emergency situation, you need to keep warm. They're great for that. 100% good. And they have worked. I may or may not have told you the story, but I was winter backpacking. Actually, no, I was spring backpacking in New Hampshire one time, and I had a down sleeping bag. And if you are an intelligent individual in spring, you don't bring a down sleeping bag. You bring either a synthetic or you bring a liner bag for your sleeping bag, because if down gets wet, it doesn't keep you warm. We had a freak rainstorm that popped out of nowhere, and my down sleeping bag got drenched. So I spent the next 5 days sleeping with a aluminum foil blanket and with my down sleeping bag off to the side, because it would not dry at all and it wouldn't keep me warm. So I slept with one of those emergency blankets. The crucial component is that you're going to want, as Dave was saying, you're going to want to eat. I think I must have eaten like 2 or 3 Snickers bars in the middle of the night just to try to keep my body producing heat. The other thing is with your condensation and sweating component is you do sweat when you're cold, but you do condensate a lot more out your mouth. So a lot of people tend to cover up their mouth with the blanket to try to keep warm. But keeping your mouth and your nose away from the interior of your blanket makes it stay a lot drier on the inside of it, and venting it. So not using it like, oh, I'm wrapping it to bring it as close to my body as possible, but using it more like a blanket will allow any moisture to escape out of it so it doesn't turn into like a Ziploc bag around you, which works pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Tony too. Now there's a lot of different types of bivy sacks that you can get. I had one. In fact, I think Carson's got it now. But because I had a Gore-Tex bivy sack that would just go in. It was basically just a shell that went over the outside of my sleeping bag, and it was awesome. It was really good. So obviously breathable, and all that good stuff too. So there's different types of materials now too, if you're going to actually use it for an extra layer or a shed or an extra protective layer, from the elements, sleeping outdoors and stuff like that too.
I like snowshoeing in the Appalachian Mountains in New Hampshire or New York around the Lake Placid area. But those are usually just one-day hikes, yet up there, high up there, 5,000 feet, 4,800, whatever. It can be quite cold, evidently, and you never know what can happen to you. So out of the emergency consideration, I have been thinking of these BV sacks. And in that respect, I wanted to hear your opinion, guys, as to the functionality of that, or does it really make sense? Because they're not expensive and they're very light, they're very compact. And yet, if they indeed do function the way they are described in the commercials, then I'm thinking that, that's something that maybe I should consider next time when I go to hike Eisenhower or whichever of the mountains in the Appalachian mountain range, or obviously for that matter anywhere in the B in the Rockies or wherever. So it seems to me, from what I hear from you guys, it does make sense to possibly add that into the backpack.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Good. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. What you got, Travis? Your mic. You got your mic turned off. Hey, Travis, you got your mic turned off. There you go.
This is my day pack. I use this every hiking trip I go on, from winter to summer, doesn't matter. Inside here is a Ziploc bag. This Ziploc bag has two things in it that are very, very helpful to me. A bivy sack, which is the tiniest thing you could possibly carry, which is that mylar material or the aluminum foil material, which is the color of the red here. So it's going to be red on one side and silver on the other, which I can't show you. It's got 2 bottles of iodine in it, which makes me able to have drinking water. This is just in my kit all the time. And a hand warmer.
Yeah.
Hand warmers, it just adds something. It takes off the cold edge of whatever. And these things are probably has an expiration date. I probably should check that. But these things, bivy sacks do work, and they work well. And just having these 3 items in my bag at all times works out phenomenally well as an emergency if I'm just going out on every trip I go on.
Yeah. No, that's good.
There's also
That's
a whistle.
There you go. Well, that's a good way to spend the time.
What about some whiskey, a little bottle of whiskey, or
Yeah.
That's
brandy?
in the other pocket. That's in the
That's
other
the other
pocket.
part. Yeah. Don't get the iodine and the whiskey
outside
mixed up.
pocket.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Liam. I think you had a hand up. I'm not sure. Go ahead. Yeah, you're chime in.
First off, I really loved that video because, funny enough, I was talking to a customer the other day about they were buying extra water filters because their son-in-law, I think, had gone snow camping and had their water filter freeze on them. So it's kind of just a funny, timely thing that honestly, I don't do enough snow camping, outdoor winter sports as much as I'd like to. So that was really nice to know.
Yeah.
Kind of silly question to toss away, but especially Travis, you were saying on that bivvy that one side's red, one side's more of like that kind of aluminum foil, just kind of shiny. Do you sleep with it a specific side, or does that matter? Or is it just that's the way that it's designed? It doesn't need to be one way or the other.
Oh, so yes, great question. I would 100% silver side towards your body in the winter because that's supposedly reflecting your heat back into you. But if you are trying to reflect, it's why it's double-sided. You can use the silver side to reflect the sun away from you. If you're in the desert and you're trying to not be 1,000 degrees, you can put that around you to deflect some sun. So in the winter time, reflect the sun, reflect your heat back to yourself, putting the silver side facing you.
That
Good
makes
information.
sense. Thank you.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Got one. We're kind of right there at 9 o'clock, but if you want to stick around, I've got one more video, and this is actually on snow camp. This one was really good, and it'll probably take me 20 minutes to get it queued up, but I'll get. So let me get.
I have to go to work, so I'm going to see you all later, but I would love to see this video, so I'll watch the recording.
Okay, you got it, Travis. Drive safe, and thank you for joining us, young man. It's always a pleasure. And
See you later, Travis.
All right.
Tony, I lived in Toronto, Canada before. Where about are you in the Toronto?
I'm in Etobicoke, which is near the international airport, Pearson Airport, and so that's where we have house and where I reside.
Nice.
Hey, I'm Greg Hale.
And I'm Mike Douglas, and today we're going to share some of our tips for winter camping.
Winter camping is an amazing way to get off the grid and to get deeper into the mountains to places you can't explore in a single day. And so today we're going to go through our backpacks and other tips that we have to make winter camping more comfortable and make your first trip more successful.
So before you head out into the mountains, you want to check the weather forecast, number one. You want to check the avalanche forecast, make sure the conditions are going to be safe. And you also want to make a plan so that someone knows when you're leaving and when you plan to be back. So we're going to assume that you've done some summer camping before and have a basic idea of how to camp out in the mountains.
In winter, it's essential to have a camp spot that is not an avalanche terrain and that is protected from the prevailing winds. And that protection can be trees, it can be rocks, or it can be a ridge. But that'll keep your camp nice and calm and quiet. And also to have it nice and flat. Those are the three things I look for in my winter camp spots. My first step when I start setting up my winter camp spot is to go over and flatten out my tent spot with my skis and let that harden while I work on other things before setting up the tent. Comfort and warmth while I'm sleeping is essential. So I have a Burley 4-season tent that can withstand whatever the mountains are going to throw at us. And then I have 2 sleeping mats. I have this closed cell mat that I will sit on and use all around camp, and then have as a bottom layer when I'm sleeping. Got a really nice inflatable insulated mat for on top of that. I've got an inflatable pillow, and I've got a nice -12 sleeping bag. Those are essential. And then I've got a full setup of clothing in here, socks and warm layers and thermals and everything just to keep me comfortable and warm in camp. And these I do not wear while I'm hiking or skiing. They're only for camp.
One thing I've learned from winter camping is that you can never be too warm or too dry. So make sure you dress in layers. You want to get clothing that has good moisture wicking and is quick drying. The Salomon base layers are great. Also, I find merino wool to work really well. Not only does it dry out quick, keep you warm, but it doesn't smell. So that's kind of a bonus. I always bring the warmest, biggest puffy jacket that I have. I always bring an extra set of gloves. And this is one of my camp favorites, the down booties, so that when my ski boots come off, I can cruise around camp and keep my feet warm. When it comes to food, the number one thing that you need for sure is a stove, and a good one that will work in windy or challenging conditions, because the stove is how you melt the snow to make your water. It's also how you rehydrate your food. If you're going lightweight, you're definitely going to want some dehydrated food. Water bottles are key. I find these Nalgene's work really well. Also, you want to bring a thermos so that you can keep your water hot. Now, one thing that's not totally necessary, but we like to do, is bring along a very lightweight tent with a single pole, and we use that as a cooking tent. And what that does is helps keep your living area dry so that you're not cooking in and around your tent, or you're not out trying to cook in the elements. You've got a little bit of shelter. You keep the moisture that's coming off your stove from filling up your tent and making things wet, and just gives you a lot more space.
Typically in the summertime, you take your tent pegs and you put them in like this, but that doesn't really hold in the snow. So what we do is we do T-slot anchors. So you tie your rope around it horizontally like that, you bury them in the snow, and once you pack the snow in and leave that for a period of time, that becomes really strong. So for anchors, I'll use a stick, I'll use a bag, I'll use the tent pegs. Sometimes I'll even use my skis and my poles, but if I want to go skiing, then I don't want to use them because I want to make sure my tent is anchored and will not go away while we're out having fun.
So tying your tent down securely for winter camping is crucial, because it doesn't matter how calm it might be when you're setting things up, the mountain weather can change really quick and can get pretty severe. So the last thing you want to be doing is trying to fix your tent in the middle of the night. So get that thing secured down, make sure that you use all your guy wires and your pegs and get it solid. So once the tent is secure and tied down, I like to take a shovel and go around the base of the tent and just kind of seal it in so that you don't get any drafts blowing in and your tent rattling during the night.
This is a pro tip that makes winter camping better than summer camping, is you can dig a hole just outside of your tent that allows you to, every time you're getting out of your tent, you've got this great area to put your boots on and to maneuver and to comfortably get up and walk out of your tent. So I'm sitting in the cook tent, I've got water boiling, and what's great about this is this becomes our social. This is our living room. It's where we'll all end up hanging out. And it's good because I'm an early riser. I'll come out here early and not disturb people, and I'll get breakfast going. Or those people that like to stay out late can stay out late while the other people are sleeping in the tent. And you can get really creative. You can make benches, you can make tables, you can make like drawers, you can do whatever you want with it, which is really fun. This is where the closed cell foam becomes really important. I've got a seat that I can comfortably sit on for hours and stay warm with. And then I'll use this afterwards in my tent to sleep on. The best piece of gear out here.
So while Greg's in there getting the water and the food going, I'm out here trying to build a little bit of a windbreak because it's kind of windy. And the cook tent does not have the same way of securing like our sleeping main tent does. The jury's kind of out on whether you build a wall in front of your tent or not. Some people like to do it to try and block as much wind as possible. Other times you can, if it's snowing a lot, the wall will actually sometimes form a snowdrift over your tent, so that can be a negative. I kind of like to have just enough to secure the tent down. But I prefer to let the snow actually blow over the tent because I've had to dig out a buried tent in the morning. It's not that fun.
So camp's pretty much set up. We've got the kitchen, we've got the sleeping, and there's a really important thing we don't want to overlook, and that is the pee zone.
It may seem like a no-brainer, but the last thing you want to be doing is peeing in the same spot you get your water. Establish a pee zone so everybody knows where to go, and make sure you get your water from somewhere far away.
So Mike and I are in the tent now. We've each got our side, and I like to have our feet oriented towards the exit. So that way it's easier to get in and out of the tent without disturbing your partner, and also to keep snow and stuff just by the doorway.
When it comes to sleeping bags, you're never going to be too warm when you're winter camping. Always get a bag that's rated at least 5 degrees below the temperature you think you're going to be in.
Comfortable sleeping is essential because I need energy for tomorrow, for the next day of the adventure, so I bring a pillow. This thing's inflatable, it goes down to the size of a fist, and to me this gives me a much better sleep.
I'm not as fancy as Greg, so I just use a cotton t-shirt and stuff it full of my softest puffy jacket, and makes for a nice pillow to sleep on.
One of the hacks that makes winter camping better is to get a hot liter of water that you bring into your sleeping bag to make it easier to get into your sleeping bag at night. And then it also allows you to have water ready for the morning to cook with. But make sure you test it at home first with hot water because it could expand and then leak. So this one's tested, it's hot, and ready to warm my feet up.
And speaking of bottles, one of the toughest things you can ever have to do winter camping is get up in the middle of the night for a pee. So a lot of people like to bring a spare bottle, a well-marked bottle, and pee in it. You keep it in the tent, and then in the morning when you get up, you take it and you go dump it out.
So in the winter, things are gonna get damp. If they're only mildly damp, we'll put them up here to dry overnight. But if they really need to be dried, it's a tough thing to do, but I'll bring them inside my sleeping bag and let my body heat dry them overnight.
Always make sure you grab your headlamp before it gets dark, because there's nothing worse than fumbling around in the dark trying to find it. And then when I take it off at night, when I go to sleep, I always put it in the same place. It goes right next to my head in this little pouch right here. That way, I've always got access to light.
So there you have it. Those are some of our tips and our tricks that'll hopefully make winter camping better and easier for you.
Yeah, and if we've missed anything or you got any questions, or maybe you've got some hacks of your own, make sure you leave them in the comments.
Subscribe to Solomon TV because there's more episodes coming.
Yeah, and have some fun in the mountains. We hope to see you out there, and good nights winter camping.
Play safe.
All right. So yeah, there's a lot of good information out there. It kind of, I don't know, sort of motivating. It looks like a lot of fun. I kind of want to get out and try that. The only thing that's lacking for us right now is snow. So we're just hoping for, some snow so we can get out there and plot around in this with our snowshoes or skis or whatever. So, but that's about it. That's what I've got for today. Any other thoughts, anybody, before we say goodbye for another week? All right. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Janice, it's great, always great. I appreciate and Sam and Julius. Thanks again, Tony. It's always great seeing you, Afton. Yeah, take care. And Julie, if you have anybody else out there that everybody's welcome. So
Okay.
anybody, spread the word.
Yeah.
And this has been to be honest with you, this is one of our bigger groups that we've had. So it's been great. It's always been great. We got a real diverse group and a lot of different levels when it comes to this particular subject. And it's always a bonus having more faces out there. So I want to thank everyone for putting up with it and listening to me. So, but all right, you guys, have a great week. Stay safe, everybody. And yeah, we'll get some more information out there. I think we're going to start diving a little bit more into snowshoeing next week. So,
Great.
all right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
You.
Oh, you got it. You
Nice
got
to
it.
see everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, Liam.
Thanks, Liam. We'll take care. All right, guys.
All right, have a good one, y'all.